Hello, dear students. Good morning, everyone. So, let us continue with the chapter where we left yesterday. We were discussing history, right? When, where, and how. Page number 129. All right, let us go to page number 129. Yes. So, in the previous class, we have discussed up till the literary sources. We just saw what do we mean by literary sources and the main categories. Today, we will see those categories of literary sources in detail. All right. So let us start with the first literary sources, that is court chronicles. What do you mean by court chronicles? Let's see. A number of scholars belonging to this period, which period? Medieval period, right? We are talking about medieval period. Yes. So a number of scholars belonging to this period wrote about history of dynasties of the period, and these are known as court chronicles. Okay. First of all, understand what you mean by court chronicles. That means history of dynasties, okay, of that particular period. As simple as that. Court. Hmm? Now, court in modern term we say that this what you call the judiciary system and all. Here we are not talking about a judiciary system. Here we are talking about the royal court, the royal palace. Okay, the kingdom, the king's palace. That's called court. So that's called court chronicles. That means history of dynasties of that particular period is known as court chronicles. Okay. Next sentence. One well-known example of a court, underline that. One well-known example of a court chronicle is Abud al-Qadir Badawni's, what is that? Muntakab ut Tawarik. It's not an English word, man. See, Muntakab ut Tawarik. These are all proper noun. Okay. So, and see, it's written in italic font. All right. So, whenever you find such type of italic font, be sure that these are not English words. Okay. So, one of the well-known example of court chronicle is Abd al-Qadir's Badawni's Muntakab ut Tawarik, or Selection of Chronicles, a work in 3 volumes that deals with the reign of Babur, Humayun, and Akbar. All right. So this particular court chronicle, that is Muntakhab ut Tawarik, okay, this tells us about the rule, about the dynasty during the time of Babur, Humayun, and Akbar, and it was written by whom? It was written by Abd al Qadir Badawni. So note down these names. Barani's, another court chronicle. Barani's Tariq-i-Firoz Shahi, an account of Firoz Shah Tughlaq's reign. Reign means period, okay, of his period, or of his time. So another court chronicle. What is that? Tariq-i-Firoz Shahi. Underline all those things. Written by whom? Baranis. And this tells us about which ruler, about which king, about Firoz Shah Tughlaq. This is another famous court chronicle which describes the history of the Delhi Sultanate, of the Delhi, the Delhi, what do you call, then the dynasty empire. Okay. There's one more. It doesn't end here. What is it? Let the next sentence. Raja Tarangini, authored by Kalhana, authored, written by Kalhana, and the name of the court chronicle is Raja Tarangini. It was written in 11th century. 11th century. We are living in 21st century. That means what do you call? 10 centuries ago, right? So, written in the 11th century, it gives us information about the history of the rulers of Kashmir. So, this particular para, page number 132, the left hand side, the first para, there are 3 court chronicles, and it also tells us about, this chronicles deals with which dynasty, with which kingdom, the information that we get, and who are the author, who are the writers of this court chronicles. Memorize this, Maghreb. All right. Next, many rulers of this period appointed historians in their courts to record the events of their rule. Usually, historians traveled with the ruler and recorded the events. Abul Fazl's Akbarnama is a fine example of such work. Its third volume, N.I. Akbari, highlights the salient features of Akbar's mode of governance and statistical reports of his empire. Nice, great. Another thing, so what happens, like earlier, during the medieval period, many of the rulers, okay, they used to appoint historians. They used to give them job. They were employed. Now what was their job? What was the type of job that they had to do? These historians, their work is to be with the king, okay, all the time, and wherever the king goes, whatever the king does, everything has to be recorded. They will keep a record of it, okay. That's what their job was. Usually, these historians, they also travel with they also used to travel with the rulers when the rulers used to go from one place to the another, and kept a record of all the events. Example, there's another example given out here. There was an historian whose name was this Abul Fazl. Okay, he was appointed by the ruler, and the record which he maintained, or you can say the court chronicle, Abul Fazl's. What is the court chronicle? Akbarnama, and this Akbarnama tells us about what? It tells us about such type of work, about such, it gives us an information about such rulers who, the type of governance they did, or the way they ruled the things, whatever, like in day in and day out, what the events that took place, everything, keeping a record of everything. Now the same thing, this Abul Fazal's Akbarnama has various volumes. The third volume, that's N.I. Akbari, all right, underline that. So the third volume, N.I. Akbari, especially tells us about the main important features of Akbar ruler, of the way he governed, the way he ruled his kingdom, okay, his territory, and also it gives us about the statistical report of his empire. All right. So underline this. What do we get to know from N.I. Akbari? One question. Another question, who wrote it? Okay. And specifically, what does the third volume says of Akbarnama? And what is the name of third volume of Akbarnama? The name of third volume of... So many questions can be framed. Like, it's very interesting. Next, we have a number of foreign travelers, scholars, pilgrims, and royal ambassadors visited the courts of different rulers during the medieval period and left behind accounts of the period. Apart from writing about the ruler and his administration, they also focus on the life of the common people. All right, another thing, another piece of information. So, like like this, this historians whom the rulers and all used to hire, there were many foreign travelers, outsiders, scholars who used to visit, okay, the courts of different rulers, the different territories they used to visit during the medieval period, and they have also left lots of literary sources, pieces of information for us about that period. What they used to do is that, yes, they used to take note of all the events that took place during that those days and all. Apart from that, there were also some other piece of information that they took note of, and from which we got to know about those things. That is about the life of the common people. How, yes, definitely the way how the king ruled his palace, the way he governed, the way he managed his system, the administrative system and political system, financial condition, economy, and various things were there. But apart from that, the life of the common people, how was it under that particular ruler? Were they happy with the king or they weren't? All those things are also some information which we get from this type of literary sources. There's an example given, the Ibn Battuta, the Moroccan traveler, okay, and scholar, is from Morocco. Morocco, it's a different country, a foreign traveler, visited India during the rule of Tughlaqs and wrote the Rila. What is Rila? See in the bracket it's given, travels. This book tells us about the geography of India. Al Biruni's Tariq al Hind, written around 1030 CE, when he accompanied Muhammad Ghaznavi on his campaign into northern India, is regarded as one of the finest foreign account of medieval India. These are some of the examples of, of, you can say, the court chronicle, or you can say the literary sources of information which are being kept in record by the foreign traveler. Okay, and this fellow, who is this? Ibn Battuta, when he's from Morocco. Okay, Moroccan traveler and also a scholar. The record which he kept, the record during the time of Tughlaq, and it is named as Rila Travels. This book actually tells us the entire geographical condition of India of those days. Now, if you can read this book, or if you can get a piece of article from somewhere from the net, or you will see the geographical condition that a country had during those days, okay, and the country has now. You'll find hell and heaven difference. Why? Because you see the period when it was written, 1030 CE, and today we are in 2021. Correct? In fact, this particular traveler, Moroccan traveler, he accompanied Muhammad Ghaznavi on his camping in the northern part of our country. And even those things are kept in record. And this is considered his record, or his writing is considered one of the finest account of the medieval India. Please underline the entire thing, starting from his name, Ibn Battuta, the Moroccan traveler, until the end of this para, which is on the right hand side. All right. Next, we have autobiographies and biographies. Let's see what you mean by autobiographies and biographies. Biographies, including Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai. So basically, you'll find many lots of informations, names and all. So names and all, I don't have to explain you. You have to by heart. Yes, what role did they play? What is the piece of information that they gave, or the writing gives us? Their writing, those things can be discussed. But who wrote? What was the name of the book? What was the name of those things? You have to memorize it. So biographies including Prithviraj Raso, written by Chand Bardai, and Humayun Nama, written by whom? Gulabdan Begum, as well as autobiographies such as Babur's Baburnama, also known as Tuzuk-i Babri in Turkish, and Jahangir's Tuzuk-i Jahangiri in Persian, were written during this period. Mm, nice names. Yes, you'll have to work hard with these names because you maybe you're not familiar with this. Yeah, so these are some of the biographies and the autobiographies written by whom and about whom. Okay, written by whom and about whom. Hmm? So we get to know, and this autobiographies or biographies, what does they do? They give us a detailed information about, like one of the example they have given, the Baburnama provides detailed information about the flora and fauna of Hindustan, while the Tuzuk-i Jahangiri provides a fascinating insight into the court politics during this period, besides giving details of the emperor's personal life. Okay, so we get to know from this, first of all, we get to know about the flora and fauna. We get to know about the interesting politics which goes on inside the court, okay, inside the palace, inside the kingdom. Next, it also gives us about a little information about the personal life of the rulers, okay, the kings and all. One more autobiography. Firoz Shah Tughlaq also wrote his own autobiography titled as Futuhat-i Firoz Shahi. Nice name. What is the next? Yeah, all right. I'll end up here today. Will not hurry. Hmm? Take your time. But see, yeah, we just have a little more topic, not much. What I was about to say, yes. See, the topics that we are discussing daily, if you go through these daily topics, okay, on a daily basis, instead of keeping it for the 11th hour, you see, we are not doing much daily. At the most, we are doing, say, 1 or 2 pages, or you can say 4 to 5 paragraphs, and that's enough for you for a day if you go through it. But if you just keep on compiling it, okay, one after another, it will go on adding up, and then you'll be at last, like burdened with lots of load. So that's the thing. Whatever has been discussed today, please go through it, read the text properly. All right, in case of any query, you can get back to me. God bless you all. Study well.